Welcome back. Today I have a 2007 Toyota Tundra. The airbag light's on. So I'm going to bring you guys along for the diagnosis of this one because I don't think I've had an airbag light video yet. So I'm going to bring you all along. And today I'm going to be using the Autel MaxiCheck MX808. And I just got this in the mail yesterday. So we're going to see how this thing goes. So we're going to go to Diagnostics. We're going to do auto detect. This isn't my first autel. I also have the autel Elite. It's a shop tool that I use regularly. So this seems pretty similar as far as the operation of the scan tool. Gonna go to Diagnosis, Auto Scan. Alright, so I have 2 codes in my airbag system. Straight to trouble codes. And I have a current code for occupant classification system fault. Usually when you get that code, it means there's an issue with the occupant sensor, so we're going to go into there, into that module. And I don't see it listed here. Let me go back. Go to control unit. I'm going to go see if they have it here. Yes, they do. Click on occupant detection. Unable to communicate. All right. So I have a code for the occupant detection system. I have no communication with the occupant detection system. So I'm going to grab a wiring diagram and I'm going to show you where this module's at and show you how I diagnose it. So this black box here under your passenger front seat, this here's your occupant detection module. Now, first thing I'm going to check when I have no communication is my power and grounds. Now, when I made a Chevy map light video, I actually back probe these terminals because that's usually how I load circuits. Is I back probe them and I operate them. But it was brought up to me by a guy named Brian Collada, who's trained by Tex, who's a really smart guy, that you're not 100% sure if that circuit is actually operational at a module. So it's always best to substitute loads. And after speaking to him, I actually agree with him. So I have my 2 amp brake bulb, and I have my front probes that my lovely wife got me for Christmas. I don't know how she pulled strings to get me the new AES Wave U test kit, but I love these things. So, you know, key is off. Let me turn the key back on. So my ground wire is going to be a white and black wire, pin 3. 1, 2, 3, and a power wire should be pin 1. It should be a red wire. You see, lights up my bulb. Now that I believe is my only ground to my occupant detection computer. I have another power wire, so I'm going to leave my I'm going to leave my front probe in my ground, and I'm just going to move this over to pin 7. And I also have power there. So I know both my power and my ground is able to supply at least 2 amps of current, which should be more than enough for this module. The next thing I'm going to check is my communication wires. I'm going to grab my scope for that. So I'm using my autel scope again. Everyone seemed to like it in the last video. Got this on a 20 volt voltage scale. I'm gonna put this on a long time base. Let's do 1 second division. Connect my scope. All right, so I'm gonna go into my communication wire. It should be a brown wire pin 2. I think this is it. Should be it. All right, so I have about 11 volts on there, which is a good sign, but I see no communication going on. So before I go too far, I wanna make sure that when I try to talk to this, I actually do get communication. I'm gonna grab my scan tool. I'm gonna try to talk to this one more time. All right. All right, still no communication. I'm gonna pause this. We'll go back a page. You can actually see where I was trying to hook. You can actually see when I was trying to communicate with this with the autel scan tool. So I have good powers, I have good grounds, I have good communication down to here. The last thing left to check is my 5-volt references. Now, this actually does have 5-volt references. It goes to all the weight sensors, but it's all in this white connector. So if I unplug this white connector and there's any issue with the 5-volt reference, this should clear it up. This should fix it. So I'm going to disconnect my connector with, I think there's four 5-volt references in it, and try to communicate one more time. I don't know if you can see that. Still no communication. So I have good powers and grounds. My wiring was able to supply 2 amps of current to this module, which should be plenty. Communication's good. And lastly, I don't have a shorted 5-volt reference, so I think this module's bad. I'm gonna replace it here and check all this again. All right, so we got this new module installed. I'm gonna go back in, see if it's fixed. Live data. All right, so I have good communication now. You guys wanna see my communication wire? Let's start it up again. So back probe the communication. You can see on the scope that everything's talking. Just gonna go directly into my airbag, make sure there's no codes, or clear them out if there are. Trouble codes. Yep. Cleared the codes, no more lights. So I hope you all enjoyed this one. I wanted to film an airbag diagnostic video, so I figured this would be a good one. I guess the big takeaway is make sure you're load testing your powers and grounds. I see a lot of people struggling with no communication concerns, and I notice a lot of times they're just like front probing the connectors, the connector's not loaded, the electrical system's not loaded. Now I previously used to back probe them and think that that was a loaded circuit, and it is for the majority of electrical tests, but after talking to Brian, I realized that on a module, you don't know what circuits are actually being powered up and which ones are not at the time. So it's best to load them with a substituted load. So I guess that's the big takeaway from this one. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time. This is going to be my next video. Got an 02 Silverado dirty diesel. For all the people who say dealer techs can only work on one make or model, throwing some injectors in this one, so stay tuned for this one.